So we're going to take a look at something that is just beautiful. Because we are going to be adding and subtracting fractions, but this time we're going to up the interest level by increasing the complexity of the denominator, which is going to make this problem all the more fun. This is fun.
That sounds fun.
Excuse me? It sounds like a nature documentary. Well, you know, I'm always on the look for a side gig, right? So, the first thing that we're going to do is we realize that we have these three denominators, and each of these denominators clearly screams to me, probably to you, what was it?
Factor.
Factoring. All right. So we are going to factor these. Now, just to make life a little bit easier, I'm not going to ask you to factor all of them. If you're in the front table here, I would like you, actually front table in this row right here, I'd like you to factor the first fraction, just the denominator. That middle row, I would like you to factor the second denominator. And the back row and the two old men in the back corner, we got this one right here. That is, yes, a Muppets reference, not a commentary on gender. Thank you. All right. Go.
If you factor out 8, it's going to come to 6.
So the question is, what times what is 6 that adds to 5? What times what is 6 that adds to 5?
Wait, what? Oh, 3. No.
Okay, about 10 more seconds, please.
So what are we doing?
You are factoring this right here.
Okay.
And we have about a couple seconds.
Why is it plus?
All right, so all of those people who enjoy sitting in the front, thank you. Could you please factor this first fraction for us? All right, Lainey.
So you have two parentheses, and then this a squared, you have a in front, and then to get 6, you could do 3 times 2. That would be plus 2 plus 3. 3 plus 2 is 5.
All right, middle row. How do I factor this expression right here? 4 minus a squared. Mo.
So you would have 2 minus a in parentheses, and then 2 plus a in parentheses.
I know you.
You are the difference squares.
This is my favorite thing that I added this year. I never did that before. I don't know why. All right. No, this is wonderful. I know that, well, no, there's always been differences of squares. But there's a time before I know you. And in the back, what do we get when we factor this expression right here? Axel?
I got a plus 3 and then a minus 2.
All right, so are we good so far? Yes. All right. Now, there are a couple ways we could do this. We could look for the least common denominator now. But if we do that, we are going to be left with 4 different binomials, and that is beyond our math, really. I mean, we can multiply them together and divide them together, but the problem with that is we're going to have to factor something that's to the 4th power, and, well, to the 3rd power, and we don't want to do that. So, that's option 1. Option 2, we can reduce each fraction now, and maybe that will make it for a simpler denominator, least common denominator. This is not a question. We are going option 2. So is there anything that we can cancel out now that will make our lives easier in the future? Jenna?
A plus 3.
A plus 3. Well, we have an a plus 3 here, but we do not have any a plus 3s.
Oh,
And the thing is, because this is addition and subtraction, I can only look inside each of the fractions. I can't look at other fractions as well. Isaiah?
A plus 2.
A plus 2 and a plus 2, that cancels out. All right. Okay, what else can we cancel out? Jimena?
2 plus a.
2 plus a and 2 plus a we can cancel out. All right. Is there anything else that we can cancel out?
No.
Oh, Eric?
2 minus
Or negative.
Oh, so we noticed that something weird here is going on, right? So you know what I could do? I could factor out. Let's factor out a -1 from this expression. When I factor out a -1, I get -1 times a minus 2. Now can I cancel things out? Yes. So that leaves a -1 in the numerator here. So I'm going to rewrite the 3 fractions, but this time I'm going to rewrite them with a little extra space. That little extra space is important and necessary. You'll see why in a moment. So we're going to write, so we have, well, this is just a 1, right? So we have 1 over a plus 3. And I'm going to leave some space, and then we have the minus sign. Well, this factored out to 1, and we have that over 2 minus a. I'm going to leave a space, and then we have a plus, and so over here we have -1 over a plus 3. All right, so the question will become, what is my least common denominator? Discuss with your table mates.
Let's figure it out, guys.
Oh wait, least common or?
Least common.
It's not 6.
Doing good.
The whole thing. What is that? Oh wait. Yeah.
All right, so if you can hear me, clap once. If you can hear me, clap twice. All right, so there are 2 ways we can do this. Let's go through the process that you will have to use on your homework, then I'll talk about something else. All right, so what is our least common denominator here? What do we need to have in our denominator? All right, Clara?
So I know for sure that we need at least one. Well, we need an A, we need a negative A, and we need.
Hold on. So this is one piece. This is one piece. This is one piece.
So we need A plus 3
There you
and
go.
2 minus A because there's 2 A plus 3. So we have to.
Right. So this this a plus 3 takes care of this a plus 3. So okay. All right. So the question is, what do I have to multiply this fraction by to get my least common denominator? 2 minus a. So if I multiply by 2 minus a over 2 minus a, I'm just multiplying by 1, which doesn't change the value of the fraction. All right. So what do I have to multiply this fraction by?
A plus 3.
A plus 3. So I'm going to multiply it by a plus 3, a plus 3. And so, all right, and what will I multiply this one by?
2 minus a.
All right, so 1 times 2 minus a is pretty straightforward. So we get 2 minus a over, well, you know what? I'm not going to worry about the common denominator right now. Do you know why? Because it's the same for all of them. I'm not going to rewrite it. What I really want to do is, because in addition and subtraction, I only add and subtract the numerators. So I'm not going to worry about the denominator. I know what it's going to be. All right, so we have this, and then we're going to subtract. 1 times a plus 3 is a plus 3. All right, and then we're going to add, and that's a -1, a, because -1 times -a is positive a. -1 times 2 is -2. We doing okay so far?
Yes.
Okay, so now let's combine the similar terms. I have negative a minus a, which is a grand total of negative, it's negative 2a. A negative 1 minus 1 is going to be negative 2. So we have negative 2a. All right, and then we have plus a. What's negative 2a plus a? It's just negative a. So we're going to have a negative a in the numerator. What is 2 minus 3 minus 2? 2 minus 3 minus 2. Negative 3. We doing okay so far?
Yes.
All right. So, in the numerator, we have negative a minus 3 over a plus 3 times 2 minus a. Yes, no, maybe so. Okay. So wait a second. Is there anything we can cancel out? Yes, there is. Yes, there is. Yes?
If we factor out the negative 1 in the numerator, then we can factor out the a plus 3.
All right. So then, what can we cancel out? And that should have been a plus, my bad. So what can we cancel out? And so we just are left with negative 1 over 2 minus a.
That's the answer.
That is the answer.
That is way more easier than what you did.
No kidding. Well, it's amazing how much it helps. But here's the thing. There's an answer that's even better than this. Are you ready? Yeah. I don't really like to have, and I would accept this for your answer. You really don't want a negative a here. I want that a to be positive. So I'm going to factor out a negative 1 here. So remember, we have negative 1 still in the numerator. And I'm going to factor out a negative 1. And I'll get a minus 2. What's negative 1 divided by negative 1? That's positive 1. So I could also get 1 over a minus 2. This is equivalent to this. I don't particularly care. If you get to either of these points, I will feel really good about you. Yes?
So, first equation, that's the numerator is positive 1 in both of them?
Well, so we have a negative 1. We have a negative 1 right here. A negative divided by a positive is a negative. So you can move the negative sign right here.
I just didn't see that, thank you.
So when we went back a little bit, then I reapplied the negative sign to the numerator just so you can see the negative in the numerator and the negative in the denominator. Are there any other questions? All right.